Hey everyone, today it's time for a video that I originally wrote 4 years ago and just never got around to making. Today I'm going to be ranking Death Race, and I'm betting most of you don't even know how many movies are in this franchise, or that there is a franchise, or that these movies exist. But no, there are 6 of them, in 2 different continuities. So, let's just dive right in. Since the most recent one is from 2018, I'm just going to put out a general spoiler alert. Starting off, number 6 is Death Race 2. Raul Rene is a decent cinematographer, but he is a shit director. And this movie is hilariously incompetent.
Quick cut, lack of wide shots, inappropriate tone of music, zero martial arts training, cheesy sound effect, dub.
It's cheap, lazy, and immature, and yet it does have a certain amount of ironic entertainment value.
Sword pressure plate activated.
Yeah! How you like that one, boy?
What the hell's he doing? What the hell's he doing?
Eat my leg, boy! Eat my leg! No!
This is also one of the most unintentionally gay movies I've ever seen. You've got scenes with men making sandwiches. You've got a 2.5 minute long scene where a clothed woman tries to seduce a naked man, and yet at no point does she even attempt to remove any clothing. There's a sex scene where his body completely covers hers and the camera is focused entirely on him. I'm not even gay and I love it. It's hilarious. The action is bad, the acting is worse, and the other technical aspects are varying levels of crap. With the exception of the cinematography, which, as I said, is decent.
How's it feel, boy?
Can you go to turn here?
Working on it. Hang on.
But no, for all the problems that I have with 2008 Death Race, and I'll get to that, this one is just a step down, man. Like, at least that movie has, like, a consistent tone that it maintains. This movie can't even get that right. It's just too unintentionally silly. It's also hilariously obvious that Luke Goss was only cast because they wanted someone who looked as close to Jason Statham as possible without actually being Jason Statham, because he's got that way it's cheaper. The score is 1.5 out of 5. Number 5 is Death Race Inferno. Every genuinely bad thing I said about Death Race 2 applies to this movie. The only difference is that the plot is slightly more coherent and the characters are slightly less one-dimensional. They still have the depth of a kiddie pool, just a kiddie pool that's actually been filled all the way and not halfway. This movie is just as unintentionally hilarious as its predecessor, just slightly less painful to sit through. There's a fight scene where Frankenstein has his mask knocked off, but from the camera angle that they shot at, it is painfully obvious that the guy who's trying to punch him is a good 5 or 6 feet away. Because they're shooting at an angle where you see the gap between them, and they make no attempt to hide it aside from just adding a sound effect. As if that makes all the difference. They do course correct, or at least as far as their target audience goes, because these movies are aimed at the hetero male audience, and Death Race 2 kind of failed at that. This movie course corrects in that regard by actually, doing fan service correctly. I.e., doing fan service that will appeal to your target audience. They actually have a chick fight, which, is a trope in and of itself, but as far as appealing to the target audience goes, it works.
From Kalahari Prison in South Africa, this is Death Race Navigator Wars. Featuring 16 of the most beautiful, ruthless, and lethal convicts alive, including an IRA terrorist, a contract killer, even identical twin serial killer. Dim the lights. The carnage is about to begin.
no, this one's still ass. Score is 1.5 out of 5. Number 4 is Death Race Beyond Anarchy. This is the least awful of these direct-to-video sequels to this particular series. It's decently shot, it's adequately edited, it's decently acted, but it lacks the fun of the better movies in the franchise. The pacing is solid, and there is a decent reveal towards the end. The action is good. They've got Danny Glover, who is very clearly just here for the paycheck. We have jumped from one trashy director to another, from Raul Rene to Don Michael Paul, who is the epitome of 2 out of 5. I have seen 5 movies, and I give all of them 2 out of 5. He is just such a bland filmmaker. But no, if nothing else, this is a step up from the last 2, and my score is 2 out of 5. Finally, jumping over to the original continuity, my number 3 is Death Race 2050. This movie rehashes several plot points from the original, and most of the CGI looks fake, but those are really my only complaints. This does very much feel like a continuation of the original in tone. It's a very silly movie. We're definitely in more obvious B-movie territory, and it works because of that. The acting is good, there are several new characters who are fun to watch, and so there are different character dynamics than were in the original. Manu Bennett is pretty solid as Frankenstein, and Malcolm McDowell is perfectly over the top as the chairman.
Hi, my fellow citizens of this great country of ours, the United Corporations of America. Why did those pilgrims land on Plymouth Rock? Because they needed a place to stage the greatest pissing contest known to man!
That's right, race fans! We are moments away from the starting gun, and anticipation here has reached a medically dangerous level! The 5th installment of the great American tradition! Does it get any better than this?
And I do like they reuse some ideas from the original, but they also take ideas from the original and use them differently. Like, in the original, there was the idea of Frankenstein being largely cybernetic. Oh, he lost this arm in 97, he lost this leg in 99, and then it turns out that that's not true. Here, it turns out that he actually is part cyborg. And so, in this case, that actually is the case. He has had at least 2 different limbs replaced by robotic versions. So that was kind of cool. The score is 3 out of 5. Number 2 is Death Race 2008. This is one of Paul W.S. Anderson's better movies, and that's not exactly saying much, but it's saying something. Jason Statham is a solid leading man, and Ian McShane and Tyrese Gibson are both good. My biggest complaint with this movie is Jason Statham's character, because Paul W.S. Anderson seems to be under the impression that how could American audiences relate to a character who has done literally anything wrong? Like, he's this super tough badass who's in prison, but also he's a family man who loves his family and was framed for killing them. So, yeah, there's that. The music is good, the writing is decent, the action uses too many quick cuts, but The cinematography is on point, so that helps. The cinematography is better than anything in Death Race 2 or Inferno. And same with the editing. Like, the editing is not great, but the editing here is at least better than it was in Death Race 2 and 3. So there's that.
Fuck you, Bulldog! Fuck you! We got guns! Look out! Oil! Damn! Tu hermano's a puta, motherfucker! What the fuck? We gotta get back in the race.
It's kind of generic, it's kind of predictable, but it's still pretty good. I do like this reimagining of the Death Race sport. And I do also like the mostly realistic portrayal of putting guns on cars. Like, you can't really put guns inside of cars without having to remove parts of those cars. So that's assuming you want a gun that's big enough to actually do some damage. So, most of the weapons are just mounted on the outside. The one bit where they're not realistic is the tombstone, aka the big slab of steel on the back of Frankenstein's car. If it's really as heavy as they say it is, the car should be doing a wheelie the whole movie, because there's no way in hell the guns in the front are heavy enough to counterbalance that. B, if it's really solid steel, no gun in the world should be able to penetrate it. But, aside from the armor thing, they actually play the weapon thing pretty realistically, at least as far as how they affect the cars they're mounted on. The damage they do is a bit less realistic, but it's fine. It's whatever. My score is 3 out of 5. Finally, my number 1 is Death Race 2000. This movie was basically the start of the trope of people in the future being obsessed with watching people murder each other on television. Thanks to this movie, we have The Hunger Games, and, well, all sorts of other examples that I can't think of. That shitty movie, Gamer, with Gerard Butler, and, like, stuff like that. Yeah, this was the start of all that. This movie's an underrated classic. It genuinely might be my favorite Roger Corman flick, or at least my favorite movie produced by him. He didn't direct it. This one was directed by Paul Bartel, the director of Eating Raoul, among other things. So, yeah, it definitely has a solid director behind it. You have a solid leading man in the form of certified badass David fucking Carradine.
What is that?
Euthanasia Day at the geriatrics hospital. They do it every year.
Here he comes! He's coming!
You have pre-Rocky Sylvester Stallone as the villain.
You know, Myra, some people might think you're cute. But me, I think you're one very large baked potato.
The whole cast is good, if not great. Everyone understands their characters. They all understand what kind of movie they're in. And they are all putting in 100%. And bless them for it, because it makes this movie work. This movie is a B movie, and it wears that on its sleeve. Unlike a lot of B movies, this one actually has a point to it. This one, unlike the Paul W.S. Anderson movies, is not played completely seriously. This movie is a satire about violence in the media, and it works fantastically.
Women are still worth 10 points more than men in all age brackets, but teenagers now rack up 40 points, and toddlers under 12 now rate a big 70 points. The big score, anyone, any sex, over 75 years old, has been upped to 100 points.
It was if I was going to make a list of the most underrated movies of all time, this movie would be on that list. It gets love, but it's still a cult classic. It does not get the amount of love that it deserves. And hopefully at least one person who watches this video will be intrigued by it and decide to watch it. And please do, it's so goddamn good. My score is 4.5 out of 5. Hey everyone, what's your ranking? Let me know down in the comments. Like and subscribe. If you don't like the video, tell me why. Try to be constructive. And then subscribe anyway. You'll be notified when I upload a new video. Watch that one and tell me why that one sucks. And again, try to be constructive. That's all for now. Stay safe in these crazy times.